lock time, we pretend it's actually just the gun. Your real lock time is signal from your brain to when you pull the trigger to when the trigger reacts. And there's a lot of things we can do. So when I talked about biological modifications and mechanical modifications, there's things that we're going to be able to do that are going to eventually have your brain, telling you to fire some weapon, and the weapon will be fired and out the barrel and hitting the target before you would have, a traditional guy would have been able to even pull the trigger. So it's an exciting future.
Wow. I'm totally mind blown, right? That's holy shit.
It's some good.
How long do you think it'll be before we see exoskeletons on the battlefield?
So I do have to admit that I have said in the past that exoskeletons, the time has probably come and gone. This is a public prediction that I've made. My belief was that exoskeletons were probably something that made sense in the 80s and the 90s if we would have invested in them, but that at this point, we probably should just move to humanoid robotics and just have them remotely controlled by people. Like, I will say, by the way, we're going to have remotely controlled Navy SEAL robots long before you have, the AI controlled robot. But I've recently seen some technology that has me questioning that. I think it's going to be more like, hey, you can run up a whole flight of stairs to the top of a 10-story building because all the power's cut and there's no elevators, and you're going to step out on that last landing and you'll be like, oh yeah, that was a little tough, as opposed to feeling like you want to collapse. And that's a huge deal. Eventually, I do think we will see the thing that everybody wants, which is, you put on the suit and you're Superman and you punch through walls and the bullets are coming at you and nothing happens. It's gonna be a decade plus before that happens. Well, so, one of the problems being any suit that can do that can also kill you. Just think about it this way: like a suit that basically helps out your legs, it's only as powerful as your legs are on average, climbing up some stairs. So like if it malfunctions, like you might hurt yourself, but you'll be okay. If you are building a suit that is capable of, doing Iron Man style, like I'm going to punch through this building and walk through the brick wall opening, that's a suit where if it malfunctions, it could rip your arms out of their joints. And you really need to be careful when you're building something like that. It's not the type of thing that you build over a weekend. I mentioned earlier, like I'm modifying this exoskeleton tonight so that I can run faster. That's not the type of thing you do with an exoskeleton that is able to rip your limbs off. It is a very different development process.
So it's
more like a medical device and less like we have integrated Lattice with over 100 existing DoD platforms. So we're taking these brains and we're hooking them up to systems that are already used by DoD. So like vehicles they already have, weapons they already have, sensors that they already have. We're basically taking everything, not just our weapons, but everything that they have, and we're trying to glue it all together into one common hive mind so that all the people, all the vehicles, all the robots have a common shared view of the world, basically in real time seeing everything that's going on in the battlefield. So you know where the good guys are, you know where the bad guys are. You're able to predict what's going to happen in the near future so that you can have everything kind of, skating to the puck, as it were, rather than reacting to what happened 10 minutes ago. And it's a really powerful thing to do, to take these systems that used to be siloed and, just be their own little stovepipe worlds and instead bring them into one gigantic brain.
Holy shit. That's incredible.
It's some good shit. One of the things that I've started working on lately is a project. I've never wanted to build humanoid robots, not myself, because there's so many other companies that are doing a good job building humanoid robots. I've never wanted to build humanoid robots, not myself, because there's so many other companies that are doing a good job building humanoid robots. And I've known for a few years now that they're on the edge of being real. And I've been waiting for that to happen because humanoid robots are not good enough to, let's say, replace a Navy SEAL. But they are good enough to replace, let's say, an elderly man. Like they can hobble around and pull levers and push buttons with about the same ability as a guy in his 90s, as I'd say where most humanoid robots are today. It turns out that if you can put a brain like Lattice into one of those robots, you can basically use that as a way to convert legacy weapon systems into AI-powered weapon systems. So imagine that I have an old Soviet-era surface-to-air missile launcher. And normally you need a bunch of guys to stand around it, watching a screen, picking out targets. They have to turn on the generator, right? You have to pull the lever, you have to prime the pumps, you got to put the choke and, start the whole thing up. But what if you could have a humanoid robot doing all of that? All of a sudden, this thing that used to have a bunch of humans that made it a really, really juicy target, now you can put it up on a hill and say, oh yeah, it's just a bunch of robots. And I've networked it into the greater hive mind. Now the data that it's collecting is being shared out to hundreds of other weapons in real time.